The Communist Party of Cuba continues its relentless march toward capitalism, of course, but the Castro brothers can never admit that their revolutionary ideal of a pure socialistic economy is impossible to maintain, and the more Cuba clings to it, the more Cuba suffers. Fidel actually hinted at this as far back as the First Party Congress when, after the first 15 years of strict Cuban socialism, he said on December 17, 1975, "There is no doubt that in the organization of our economy we have erred on the side of idealism and sometimes even ignored the reality of the objective economic laws we should comply with." Yesterday, the Cuban government issued hundreds of new guidelines intended to open the Cuban economy to more capitalism. Of course, the word capitalism never appears in the guidelines and never appears in current Cuban President Raul Castro's official explanation of what the guidelines are intended to do. In a speech about the new guidelines a few weeks ago, Raul Castro said, "I can assure you that the guidelines are an expression of our people's will contained in the policy of the party, the government, and the state to update the economic and social model in order to secure the continuity and irreversibility of socialism, as well as the economic development of the country and the improvement of the living standard of our people." So when the Castro brothers are forced to accept the irreversibility of more capitalism in the Cuban economy, it must be described as, in Raul's words, securing the continuity and irreversibility of socialism. Cuba is as hung up on refusing to admit that its economy includes some capitalism as the United States is hung up on the refusal to admit that our economy includes some socialism. No other countries in the world are so fixated on the refusal to acknowledge the inevitable mix of socialism and capitalism in their economies. Under the new Cuban guidelines, Cubans will be allowed to legally buy and sell homes for the first time, as well as automobiles. Some private farming will be allowed. There will be an expansion of legally allowed self-employment. The new guidelines will, as if following Paul Ryan's lead, shrink the social safety net. The ration book, which all Cubans get and provides them with government-subsidized food and other items, will be trimmed. Raul Castro sounded downright Republican in criticizing the ration system. He said, "Since the ration book is designed to provide equal coverage to 11 million Cubans, there are more than a few examples of absurdities, such as allocating a quota of coffee to the newborn." You don't have to read between the lines to know that the ration book is on its way to becoming Cuba's version of our food stamp program. Instead of providing government-subsidized food for everyone, Cuba will eventually be providing it only for those who really need it, just like we do. Raul Castro said, quote, "The social welfare system is being reorganized to ensure a rational and deferential support to those who really need it, instead of massively subsidizing products as we do now. We shall gradually provide for those people lacking other support." In other words, we have started the process of scaling back Cuban socialism to something much closer to American socialism. I have explained in this space before how Newsweek reached the logical conclusion expressed on its February 16, 2009 cover, "We are all socialists now." We are all socialists in this country who support public education, state-funded universities, government-run hospitals, Medicare, Social Security, classic socialistic programs that have sensibly found their way into the American economy. The truth is, in this country, we're all socialists to varying degrees, and we're all capitalists. If the Castro brothers were allowed Newsweek to publish a Cuban edition, which they never will, its cover this week would surely be, "We're all capitalists now."